Many of us know the importance of saving for retirement and may have already been putting aside an amount every month into our savings. However, sometimes deep down, we may be thinking, is this really enough? Especially when life expectancy is improving or inflation is going crazy. But do you know you can actually get someone else to pay for your retirement even if you have outlived your retirement savings? No one wants to be a burden to their family at old age, correct? But before we look into that, let's look at how a typical person saves for their retirement. Meet Maureen, who has been taught from young by her parents that she needs to save money early for her retirement and has been putting aside a fixed amount every month from her salary for her retirement since she was 25 years old. She retires at 65 years old and draws down her savings. She is prudent and spends little after her retirement. However, she faces a problem. She has to spend more money each year because inflation forces her to pay more for the same standard of living. Her retirement savings, therefore, drops in an exponential manner. Fortunately, in Singapore, the government has imposed a fixed savings scheme for all salaried citizens in the form of the Central Provident Fund, or CPF. This is a better savings program than what Maureen has. With CPF, Xian Long, who also started saving when he was 25 years old, gets a compounded return on this CPF savings, which enables him to retire 40 years later with more money than Maureen. This means he has a better standard of living at retirement as he can afford more. However, since inflation has the same effect on his retirement money, the fund also diminishes in an exponential manner. The above two scenarios may be a problem for Maureen and Xian Long if they outlive their retirement. So is there a better way to save for retirement? Let's take a look at this.
Meet Dr. Liu, who bought an investment property as a form of a monthly savings plan for his retirement. Let's look at the math. At the age of 35 years, he bought a 1.5 million property and took a loan of 1.125 million at 4% interest rate yearly for 30 years. At this interest, his monthly installment was about $5,371. He rented out the property every year at 3% rental yield of $3,750 per month and came out with $1,621 from his own pocket. Although at the beginning, he was paying more on his monthly installment than the rent he was receiving, the rent of $3,750 paid off the bank interest, while the rest of his monthly payment went to repay the principal. If we look at it simply, it is as though Dr. Liu is saving $1,621 into his retirement fund every month. This means Dr. Liu would have saved $583,560 after 30 years. Together with his earlier down payment of $375,000, he would have paid $958,560 before taxes. If his property is still worth $1.5 million, he would have gained $541,440.
But of course, in real life, with proper financing of the loan, the interest paid to the bank falls as the principal reduces, and the rental and property price increases with inflation. Therefore, his accumulation of his retirement fund would have gone up exponentially. What's different between Dr. Liu and Xian Long is that Dr. Liu's property is still paying him rent after he has paid off the mortgage. He can use the rent he collects to pay for his expenses. On top of that, the property continues to appreciate over time. With inflation affecting both his expenses and his income, he would be able to maintain his standard of living and can even pass on this income to his children after his demise. Now, in order for Dr. Liu to save over $1,600 a month, it's important that the property maintains a high rental and has as little vacancy as possible during the 30 years. In order to do that, Dr. Liu looked at 5 factors, and these are: number 1, is the property near a shopping mall? Number 2, is the property near a MRT station? So why is it important for the property to be near a MRT station and a shopping mall? If we look at this recent Straits Times article titled "Singapore Home Buyers Take a Shine to Mixed-Use Developments," dated 7th of July 2024, we noticed that as he looked at 11 leasehold condominiums and found that, in general, condos linked to shopping malls and MRT stations saw a stronger median unit price growth compared to purely residential developments. Experts also say that amenities and transportation links have been key drivers to the value appreciation of such mixed-use developments. What is true for homeowners is also true for tenants. Given how expensive cars are in Singapore, an expat tenant will want to stay near amenities and public transport in order to save time better spent with their families or with his own personal activities. Therefore, condos which are nearer to the shopping mall and an MRT station will be in high demand. High demand translates to a higher rental and a shorter vacancy period during leases for a property. Of course, being close to the workplace of the tenant makes the apartment even more attractive, as it can save them even more time traveling to and fro. This leads us to point 3. With just these 3 factors, it is already easy to rent out the property. However, with the next 2 factors, it will boost the appeal of the property even higher. The first is point 4. Is the property near an international school? If the apartment can also be near to an international school, it will attract families with children studying at the school to rent the property as well. However, even with all these, I noticed that the most overlooked factor many investors make is the layout of the apartment. If the tenant doesn't feel good about the layout at their first visit, they're going to dismiss it as their ideal home, especially when there are other units in the neighborhood also up for rent. So what is an appealing layout? If you'd like to know, scan the QR code here and message "I want the layout report," and I'll send you a report on how to identify an appealing layout and how such a layout can impact the prices and the rents of a property.